Oh, that was so loud. Hey, everybody! Apologize for the late start tonight. I was talking. I don't know if the room was available either, but it's great to see everybody. Yay, people! This is awesome. Um, so let's see here. We've got an exciting class tonight. We'll do Prime Minister's questions. I want to talk about Project Two, but then we're gonna get our first experience with pair programming. You all had a chance to see me and some select students do it last week. Hope you got a good feeling for what it's about. Hope you had a chance to review the lectures or understand, the options that are available with pair programming, some of the different roles, and how to make it all work. Thank you all for coming tonight. We will again after we'll probably spend I don't know 20 or so minutes with sort of the preamble prepared, and then we will dive into our activity. So I want to start out though with Prime Minister's questions. Let's see here. The koans were due tonight. How were they? What did you think? Yeah, some thumbs up. Yeah, okay. Like what makes a thumbs up? Yeah, not so much. Like okay, so like what made a thumbs up? Like what were some of the things that resonated with you about it? Yeah.
Generally, it was clear to see what they were explaining, and even for like the more complex ones, especially like near the end, as you're running out of time, you're running out of patience for them. Like even if you just have the answer, they're a great reference to go back to.
Okay.
Where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Good
it
reference. Yeah.
just like spells it out. And you get experience with it. You have to go and try it out.
You're right. Yeah, it's more than just like reading the code. Yeah, I went to work with it. Good, good, good. That was a good lesson. Yeah. Sorry, I think yeah. Did you raise your hand also? Yeah. Yeah, sorry, yeah, go to the documentation or just navigate around. Well, good, good, good. Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, I too like the rapid feedback that you get, and it's the whole idea of the koans, right? So it's like a little piece of code, and you're just like focused on those couple of lines, and then it'll tell you if your understanding is correct. Great. Anybody else had something they want to bring? For the people that were kind of so-so, let's go. What made it so-so? Was there anything that you're like, oh, we could improve on that, or like didn't really resonate with you? Yeah.
I was slightly annoyed with the casting, but I think that's just me being.
Oh, annoyed at casting. Yes.
It was just like, that's what needs to be. There was a couple of certain equals that I thought this should be the answer, and that's really dumb questions that you would.
No, no, those are good questions. Well, and it's a good point. If you haven't worked with a strongly typed language in this way, so yeah, maybe you've worked with C++, but it's not exactly the same as having like the object types that you do in Java. There are some things about strongly typed languages, like yeah, when you get the need to do casting at times, the fact that and that's kind of annoying, but also like you get feedback at compile times or like as you're writing your code, as opposed to untyped or lessly typed languages where you have to wait until it runs to find out if there's a problem. Yeah, do you have a yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah, right. It's like, oh yeah, I split the number five. Why is it? Well, and that's part of the lesson, right? It's like, oh yeah, I'm assigning a five to a short. Yeah, you need to cast there just as a reminder. It's like, oh yeah, five is 32 bits. A short is only 16, and so you need to be explicit about those kinds of things. But yeah, it's like, well, duh, or just like do the right thing. Well, I think Java came about at a time where people were really afraid of assumptions being made in languages. And if you look at some of the languages that became popular after Java, it was in response to that. Like a lot of people going to Python, a lot of people going to JavaScript, where the language authors were like, I mean, come on, let's be reasonable about this. Where Java was, wanted to be more upfront. It's a design choice. Yeah, yeah,
For any games that like there was a couple that I wasn't sure on that like I got into like just pass on it, but
yeah.
I was like sure they're happy with that thing for you. There any chance to get like an answer key or something for like
There's not an answer sheet per se, but I'm happy to engage you in a conversation on Slack about like, oh yeah, hey, here's how I did this koan. Hey, this seemed really strange to me, or oh, can you explain why this is the best way? Yeah, I'll try my best to provide some commentary. Explanation. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, good. Awesome. Okay. So many of you already submitted your koans. It's super easy for me to grade them, so I've been grading them and turning them around. I'll try to give you feedback as soon as possible. Project one. I hope everybody's had a chance to at least set up their project. Dive into the project one, make sure that you've got your environment all set up. I realize some of you might just be just now turning your attention to it, but any questions about project one? Yeah. Oh, no. Please ask your question, and if it's too much for me, or it's something like I don't feel comfortable giving you feedback on, I don't know what that would be. No, I'd much rather have the question about even something like, hey, can I get some feedback on the design of my code, or like, hey, is the method too long? Sure, please ask it. I'll let you know if I'm overwhelmed, or I'll let you know if it's just like, no, that's not an appropriate question, but and if it's something about your code specifically, please just DM me. But also feel free if you think it's more generally appropriate to ask it in the whole. If you think like the class will benefit from the answer, you can ask it there too. So yeah, so project one is a little bit of a different beast. Be sure to go back and watch. Let's see here. I think it's the part 3. Well, the part 1 and the part 3 screencasts from last Wednesday. Those are the ones that I pre-recorded. The part 1 talks all about the project 1 project and how to set it up and how to get started. Part 3 talks all about main methods and how to work with main methods and how to test main methods, because it's a little different. That one's really important because that will help you get the required 75% test coverage. You'll have to test your main code or factor things in such a way that it can be tested with unit tests, but you'll want to use both the unit tests and the integration tests. Nice. Let's see here. Any other questions? Okay, I think next I'll talk about Project 2. So I'm citing Project 2 tonight. I realize we didn't meet on Monday, so it might seem like things are coming fast and furious, and they are. But here's what Project 2 is all about. So Project 2 extends Project 1. Project 1 was laying the groundwork for the multi-phase project that you'll be doing here in the class. And you created your fundamental airline and flight objects classes that you'll be using for the rest of the course. The behavior for Project 1 was admittedly very simple, right? All it can do is create one flight, add it to an airline, and that's it, right? And a lot of people ask, like, wait, is that really it? Yeah, that's it. Because Project 1, again, it's about getting started. It's about figuring out how to write integration tests and unit tests and parsing the command line. Project 2, things start to get a little bit more interesting. Now we are persisting the airline to a text file. And so this is giving you an opportunity to learn and explore Java's APIs for performing I/O. So what do you need to do? Make it a little wider. There are a couple of classes that you need to implement, and then you have to write your main method or your main class. So there's a class called TextDumper. A TextDumper takes an airline and dumps its context to a text file. A text file with a format of your choosing. Part of the assignment is to determine what the text file format is. And the TextDumper implements an interface called Airline Dumper. So this gives you an opportunity to use interfaces in your code. So the TextDumper takes an airline, writes its content to to a file on disk as text. And then a text parser will basically go the other way. It'll parse the contents of an airline file, and from it create an airline object. And of course, an airline and its flights. So all that information needs to be encoded in the text file. And it implements the airline parser interface. And you'll see airline parser and airline dumper again, but for right now, the first implementations they're going to provide just for this text format. Now, the intent of the text format is that, yes, it's primarily readable by a machine, but it's going to be readable enough by a human, i.e. the grader, to show evidence that, yes, your airline, like a new flight was added to the airline, things like that. So while really there aren't any requirements for the format in terms of its structure, it needs to be understandable enough so that when a new flight is added, it's obvious to anybody who looks at the file that yes, that flight was persisted. So you have your text dumper and your text parser in Project 2. There's also a main class with a main method called Project 2 that has the same command line as Project 1 with a new option. And that new option, so when you invoke the main method, you provide all the information required to create a new flight, so the airline and the information about the flight that you're adding. In addition to dash print and dash readme, now it has dash text file. And dash text file option is followed by the name of the file to read and write from. So the whole idea is that now your main method can not only create a new flight in an airline, but before it adds the new flight, it'll read the contents of the airline from the file, add the new flight to it, and then write it back out again. Note that dates and times are still in the same format, this 4-digit year and 24-hour time. That has not changed. Let's see here. There's a couple of notes here. We don't need to create a new Maven project, so please use the same Maven project that you created for Project 1. And this is all part of the assignment. You need to evolve your code base to change things slightly. I wouldn't expect that you'd have to modify your flight and airline class, and so if you find yourself having to make lots of changes there, take a step back, reach out to me if you want to talk about something. When you look at the dump method in text dumper inherited from airline dumper, it uses this parameterized type with a type variable of capital T. This actually helps. This reduces the amount of casting. So if you didn't like casting with the koans, luckily you don't have to do as much of it here in the projects. Another note is that in the pom.xml, there is a reference to the Project 1 class. You'll need to change that to Project 2 in order for your executable jar to work correctly. And oh yeah, note something also about the text file. If the text file doesn't exist yet, that's okay. Don't issue an error. Create a new airline, add the flight to it, and then write just the bootstrap the first time, the brand new created airline to the file. Otherwise, if you somehow require the file to exist, you're not going to be able to get the whole thing off the ground in the first place. But note that if there's other errors, like for instance, the command line can't be parsed or whatever, don't attempt to read the text file. Just issue an error saying, oh, look, your flight number isn't an integer or something like that. So that's more details about what the command line needs to do. Here are just some other notes. Oh yeah, again, if the text file doesn't exist, don't issue an error. Oh, and note also that the text file is provided on the command line can be any valid file path. It can be an absolute from the file system. It can be relative to the current working directory, et cetera, et cetera. So really, there's no validation that you should do on the name of the file that's passed in. So don't assume that it has .txt suffix. Don't assume that it's in a certain directory or has some certain name. Don't need to validate there. And once again, the program, just like in Project 1, please make sure that your program exits gracefully with an error message, which is can be easily understood by the grader. Such as, hey, the command line is messed up, or the format of the day and or time is incorrect. The text file that's passed in is not formed correctly, or if the error line that's on the command line is different from the one in the text file. So, here are some situations that you'll need to make sure that you can accommodate. Any questions about the behavior of Project 2 and what you're looking to implement? I'll talk about resources after that. Yes? Ah, yeah, the parameterized type. Yeah, actually, yeah, let me just look at the code, and I can show that to you. Here we are. Yes. So if I look at, sorry, let me go. See, do I have an example? Otherwise, yeah, like text dumper and text parser is implemented here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, thank you for asking about that, because this is something where you'll probably learn about in the collections lecture, but it's something that has been known to trip people up the first time they see it. So here we have a class declaration for text dumper, and this is the one that you can use. And it implements airline dumper of airline. So as you learn about in the when we learn about the collections APIs, the Java language has this thing called type parameters. So if you go and look at the interface for airline dumper, it's an airline dumper of, well, a variable of type T that extends abstract airline. In the dump method, you give it a T. This allows me to, basically allows you to share all of this code. Because this airline dumper, you have to provide it the specific type of airline. Each one of you will give it your own type of airline. So right, this is my airline. It's in my package. It's in the Whitlock package. The same way yours is going to be in your user ID. If you didn't do this, then as a matter of fact, probably if I just delete it, it'll give me a warning, but it should still compile. And it'll complain about this dump method and saying that it doesn't override it. Oh, what is saying? Yeah, it doesn't override the right method because this will end up being an abstract airline. This still compiles, but it won't be of your type. This is some students then have had to do a bunch of casting in here, and I just didn't like having them do that. And so instead, I add this parameterized type, which again is a little, might make you scratch your head at first, but it does make things nicer. Feel free to play with it like this though, using abstract airline and see what you think. Maybe you can get everything done that you need to. You probably could, but I like having the concrete types better. We'll revert those changes. Yes, that's a good question. Thank you for asking it. So that's what Project 2 needs to do, working with files. Now, there's something I want to note about resources versus files. If you go back and look at the I/O lecture, I talk about resources, and what resources are well, there are files that are bundled with the application. So think of like an icon in a user interface, or a bunch of display strings that can be localized. So the whole idea is that this isn't code. This is a file that the code uses to convey something to the user. And in Project 1, you saw that the readme.txt could be, well, it is out of the box, bundled as a resource, right? It's off in its own place. So here we have source main resources that has this readme.txt. And this is treated as a resource file, and I have an example of how to use that in the Project 1 test. So here is this file that's off in the resources directory, and we can read it by saying project1.class.getResourcesStream readme.txt. And what this will do is use this this resource API to return an input stream that is that resource that's bundled with the application. So when you have basically static files like your README, where you don't change it at runtime, read it in and then spit it back out again. Static files are great candidates for resources. And with just like the README, for Project 2, there is a text parser that again uses this get resource as stream to get these valid airline.txt and valid. Hold on for. Oh, what did I just do? I didn't want to run. Sorry. To go and get those resources for testing purposes. So what this does is it says, hey, listen, I've got this valid airline.txt. Can I read it as a resource and then send it to my text parser and have it successfully parse the name of the airline from that resource? So out of the box, you get this implementation of text parser and text dumper that basically give you a shell to start with, and all it does is it writes the name of the airline to the writer that's passed in. And similarly, all the text parser does is read the airline that's passed in. This is kind of the shell of the program to help you get started. Years ago, I made the students start from scratch, and there were some lessons that were, as I say, there were some lessons that were missed, and so I wanted to give people a little bit more of a head start. But anyway, the whole idea here is that here these tests, because this is like canned text file, you can read that in as a resource. However, the text file the user passes into your main method, that's different. That's not a resource, that's just a plain old file, because that can be anywhere on the file system. It's not a file that's bundled with the application. As a matter of fact, things like the readme.txt are put inside the jar file itself. When you call get resource, it actually opens it up from the jar file, not from the file system. This is an important concept to understand, and it's something that's probably a little unusual, but but understanding will help you not only with your README, but also writing these tests that then will parse some canned text file to validate that your parsing works. So for project 2, you can use the resource API for your README and for your test text files. But when it comes to the main program, again, it should just use the plain old either file API or the path API or something else to read that file. I guess the note here is about make sure that you're using the right API for working with text files, for reading text files for the right situation. Cool. Yeah, that's your project 2. So it's all pretty fresh still, but any questions? That is due on February 5th. Is that? Gosh, it's 2 weeks, February 5th already? Yeah, it's not the 36th of January. Yeah. Good. Okay. Now let's get to the main event, which is pair and mob programming in this course. Okay. So last week we saw the we saw some pair programming. We talked a little bit about what it's all about. We watched that cheesy video and things like that. Now it's time for you to experience pair programming, each one of you yourself. So I think we talked about why pair programming is relevant and why it's possible now, and some of its benefits. So for instance, with pairing, you don't have one person and only one person who is familiar with the code. You have more eyes on the problem, so you have more creativity brought to the problem. You have, and just it makes you realize that what we do now with software development is a team activity, and that just having one person working alone has risks to it. So really this whole ethic of getting multiple brains on a problem through their eyes and through their mouths is exemplified in pair and mob programming. Tonight and for the next 2 Wednesdays, we'll be doing pair programming. A little bit later in the course, we'll be doing mob programming, where you have more than 2 people all rallying around a problem, all looking at the same code at the same time, working on the same problems. So what you get to experience in this course is both a combination of course, working on your own. So your projects are all about, the koans were all about. That's your opportunity to learn the way that you like to learn, just on your own, and demonstrate that what you as an individual are capable of. But also, we'll be working through these series of code katas. We saw that it was the first one last week with FizzBuzz. That are these simple programming projects that are good for exploring a new concept, or in this case, a new programming technique like pair programming. So we saw the public GitHub repository that we all use, and actually it was here. It's the katas. Oops, I didn't open up a new tab. Sorry. It's the Kata's Winter 2025. And thank you to everybody thank you to everybody who signed in with the I Can Reddit Edit This Repo project. Looks like there might be a couple people who haven't. And so then it's really important for tonight that you can commit to this repository. So if you haven't already, please get a checkout of this repository. And again, it was linked to in the PDF, and I'll put it in the, let me know if you need me to post it in the in Slack so you can see it. But please make sure that you can make a change and push it to the repository. You'll need me to add you as a collaborator otherwise. So let's see here. So we'll be working in that again. Oh yeah, a little note about Code with Me, which I suggest you don't do. This was like good during the pandemic, but not so much now. So we have these three programming three opportunities to pair program tonight, next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that. And this is part of the course. So it's you're well required to be here and to participate. So what we'll do is we'll spend some time tonight working on a pretty simple, straightforward kata. Again, to experience pairing, it's not about solving the kata. That's easy. It's about experiencing it, pairing and doing test-driven development, things like that. And then we will we'll break and have we'll stop doing that and then have an in-class discussion about what you experienced, because I'm really curious about what it's like and what you learned. In pairing, there's the driver and the navigator, and I asked that each student have an opportunity to experience both parts and make like 4 non-trivial commits to GitHub. So like we saw during class last time, having the driver and driver and navigator rotate roles every few minutes is a good way to do that. So I'll be timing things up here. I think we can go for like 10 minutes or something like that. Anyway, so after you do all of that, that's part of what we'll be doing tonight is pairing and making sure that you're each person is contributing. Additionally, you'll be asked to reflect on your experiences pairing and then again with mobbing by taking a campus quiz. And there's basically a couple of short answer questions there on the quiz. So things like, hey, who did you pair with? And then the sort of location in GitHub, in the GitHub repository that you used. And note that the goal is not to get like everything working perfectly. I just want, I want to make sure that there is evidence, though, that everybody contributed. So don't worry if your code doesn't compile or it doesn't run. It's more important that you show that you made some progress. Oh yeah, and if you're looking at what you did, you can always go to a link like that from the GitHub API and see what you committed to the repository. And the graders might do the same. But what's really important here is that you convey what you learned in this experience, what you observed, what you felt, what you saw, what ideas do you have for the future, such as when pairing might be effective in a situation, when it might be ineffective. In addition to experiencing paired programming, I'd like you to think critically about it and to be able to articulate a point of view on what pair programming is, what mob programming is, and then when you think it'd be effective. So that's how you'll, and this is a quiz, and so you'll be assessed on that. It's, I forget, it's worth 3.5% or something each one. It was in the syllabus, I don't remember. And then just to reiterate, pairing and mobbing is to be used for the in-class katas. Do not pair and do not mob with other people for the multi-phase project. That is meant to be individual work. Otherwise, if you do pair or you do mob and then share each other's work, it'll sure look like plagiarism to me, and we'll have a discussion about it. So those are the expectations in terms of like how you'll be assessed on the pairing and mobbing. Any questions about that? Yeah. Yeah, the quiz is due, I think, after the 3rd session. So the expectation is that, yeah, you participate in all 3, and then you take the quiz after that. But, yeah. Okay. I'm remembering that there was a handout here. Oh yeah, question. Yeah.
So I just, because last time I edited that file, I just did it in GitHub.
Okay.
Just one of the repositories, but it looks like my repo isn't up to date. And I'm missing stuff. Like when I checked the terminal, I got the years that I opened the project, so I just seeing it.
That's interesting.
That smell issue or something?
If you're not seeing IntelliJ, let's see here. There is. Can you go under File and say Reload all from disk? That might sync up things. And actually, yes, let's all do that. We're not quite ready to dive in yet, but if you look at the Kata's repository, you'll see that I added a new set of projects for leap years tonight. There are 16 pairs. So if you would, please go to your checkout of your katas. And let me go back to the main branch just to make sure I got everything. Nice. You should see now a whole bunch of new projects for the leap years kata tonight. You might need to do things like refresh your Maven, and so you can do that by expanding this Maven tab over here on the right and clicking Reload All Maven Projects here. Okay, cool then. Excellent. Good. Learning it. Hey, you know what? You know the Git stuff and the GitHub stuff in this course is there on purpose. It's to get you used to thinking about like your different checkouts and like, hey, what's on this machine? What's on that machine? What's in GitHub? How is everything coordinated? Because this is what you do as a professional programmer too, right? You have to realize and all these little tips and tricks and like, hey, what's the first thing that you check? Is all stuff that is all part of learning. So you're getting your money's worth. We'll come back to this in just a moment. I do want to get here it is. Let me just send this to the other tab. Awesome. Okay. And I will, let me put this in Slack again. It's where you'll capture the thoughts. Tonight on nice. So last week we saw this pair program test run development handout. We got about halfway into it. We did FizzBuzz, and now let's see here. I think people can still edit it, right? Yeah. What was that little thing? Quick sharing action. Yeah. So just to review like what we did, we worked in these Pomodoros where one person in the pair would be navigator, one person would be driver, and then switch after that. Tonight we'll be doing a kata called Leap Years. So the whole idea here is this is the kata that you're doing, and so you and a person of your choosing will or mutual choosing will implement this kata. And I already covered the pair mod programming in this course handout. So the idea here is that you'll explore this leap years kata. And this is there on this website. Actually, I'll just talk about it now. Again, just like that FizzBuzz, this is the logic of this is dirt simple. But what you're exploring tonight is how to pair, how to write tests, how to do test-driven development. And don't worry, the kata next week will be more interesting. But this is baby steps, right? We want to crawl before we run. Otherwise, we're running right into a wall. So in this kata, we are exploring the concept of leap years. And of course, 2024 was a leap year, so I think we all know what that means. Oh, there's an extra day in the year. It's 366 days instead of 365. And okay, here's some nice background on it. That's cool. And what all this bottoms out to is here are the here's what you need to do. So you're going to be asked to write some code that determines whether or not a given year is a leap year. And so then basically, here are the criteria for a year being a leap year. If a year is divisible by 400, yes, it's a leap year. If a year is divisible by 100 but not 400, it's not a leap year. So, right, it's like 1900 and 2100 will not be leap years. If a year is divisible by 4 but not by 100, that is a leap year. So like 2008 and 2016 and 2024 were. And then any year that is not divisible by 4 is not a leap year. And there are some examples there. And so then, what you and your pairing partner will do is look at the specification. I recommend that you try some tests for development, right? Write some tests that exercise these acceptance criteria. And then write some code that will then implement these acceptance criteria to make you feel confident that you have a function that will determine whether or not any year is a leap year. Any questions on the requirements for this kata? Everybody know what a leap year is, I hope? All right, good. You're good. Really simple stuff to start with. Next week will be more interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll create breakout rooms in Zoom if anybody wants to join the Zoom and then use that to share screens. Otherwise, you can look at one computer. And then figure out amongst yourselves. I should have brought like little cards or something like that. Sorry, maybe I'll do that next time. To determine which number pair you are, and then do the following. So go to your checkout of the katas repository, and in the leap years directory, there are all of these projects for each pair. And each one of these projects is a lot like what you saw last week in the FizzBugs kata. It's got a leap years class, which it has a main method to put the other there. As more importantly, it's got like a leap years test, and here's where you can start adding your tests for those acceptance criteria. And you can run it and work with it just like you have all the other code. I also request that you go to the pom.xml and did I not add that? I didn't. Silly Dave. Sorry. Let me quick add that to all this stuff because this is how you'll claim. Let's see here. I thought for sure I added that. I guess I just did that for FizzBuzz. Actually, let's do that here. So there should be a developer section. Sorry about that. I'll make sure there's one for next time. We'll just do this right here before the build. Please go through, and then let's have student 1 and have your name. We don't need anything else. And then your name. I wonder why doesn't it like the Y there? Oh, because I didn't, do that. No, I didn't do this. And student 2. And then go in and, oh gosh, I got to do this like 16 times. Y'all can figure it out, but I'll do it for you. And go in and fill in your name and the name, and then have your partner fill in their name. This will actually be a good check that everybody can commit to these repositories. Because again, I don't know if everybody was able to do that last week. So sorry. So has everybody had an opportunity to update their GitHub checkouts yet? Anybody encountering problems either seeing the code or building the repositories, or building the projects in the repository? Excellent, okay, good deal. Yay, maybe there's a faster way to do this, I'm not sure. See, while you're doing your cones, I'm going to prepare for next week, and I'll be sure to do this stuff. Because watching you do this is pretty boring. So once you do this, then this will sort of officially, claim your pair. So actually, while I'm doing this, how about you all find a pair and then figure out amongst yourselves, I don't know, use Slack or something like that, which number you are. Hey,
Hi.
what's up?
Sorry, was not able to push to
Yeah.
because I did
Oh.
message you on Slack. It was during class. Because
Okay, just now, but yeah, you want so I'll add you to Slack.
I
Or
would
I'll add you to
appreciate-
the
yes.
pause, right? Absolutely.
I would appreciate that.
Yep,
Thank
let
you
me
very much.
do that right now, and then we'll check up on it here.
Okay.
Yep, let me finish this.
So
Yeah.
we don't save over other people's work. You might want to have people like put their name here.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, how would you? Yeah. So,
Okay, real quick.
hey, good
everybody.
idea, kind of right here.
So everyone got the handout on Slack. If you want to claim a number, go to the bottom of it in the sections where it has the pair numbers and says what worked well. Just put your name in there, and if you see someone's name in there, that means that's already been placed. So
Yeah, I like that. Good call. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm really curious. Did anybody put anything in the Google Doc, or is my? Nice. Okay. Let's take 5 minutes and report out. So, like, this is your first experience pairing. What was it like? What were some of the big learnings? So, what were some of the things that people thought were effective about pair programming? Brainstorming. Okay. So, yeah, tell me more. So, like, what was the brainstorming like with two people working on the same problem? Cool. Good ideas fast. I like that. Yeah, yeah. You guys? Sorry, say it again, please. I didn't hear you. No, I'm talking to you. Yeah, yeah. You're using Code with Me. Seem to have a pretty good, experience with it. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Able to share your knowledge and learn something that one person knew. Yeah, you'd be able to learn it immediately. Yeah. Ah, yeah. Speaking out loud to having conversation to help you process the issues. Nice. No questions. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, yeah. Seeing different approaches and how all that works. Sweet. Okay. How about some things that maybe didn't go so well or were awkward at first, or sort of the stumbly things? Yeah, yeah. You in the back. Get merge errors. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did maybe people have conflicts? I mean, I would hope that things were like the changes were probably you all did because I don't know what happened there. I was like yeah. Well, I think everybody else was sort of like updating regularly. I think you went the entire time without doing a poll, and then like I probably got like a couple hundred changes to merge in. So it's probably this thing. It's conflicted, but yeah. Did overall though did Git work okay? Everybody sort of massively collaborating on this repository in real time. Yeah, it's one of the unique things about this. I mean, I don't think this really happens in the real world, but I suppose in like big huge projects it does. But cool, glad you had to experience that. Okay, what are some other things that were awkward? Get merges sometimes a little awkward. Yeah. You got like a Korean code with me? Nice. Okay. Daniel, yeah.
Sometimes, like if you have different setups, it can be good and bad because you can see what people think otherwise, but also sometimes like something wrong on there, always have to trouble through that or something.
Ah, right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, differences in like different operating systems, or this person's got like an older version of IntelliJ, or like, yeah, right. And so things just don't like seem the same. And yeah, I think it's often the case where like one person's machine sort of seems to work until it doesn't, and then but at least you have someone who can help you debug and figure out there in the moment. Sweet. Okay. We'll be doing this next week. And so then, what are some of your thoughts for when we do this a second time? Like, what are you definitely going to want to do again? What? Yeah, yeah, okay, you like your pair? Yeah, it's cool. If you like your pair, you can keep them, or if you want to like mix it up, you can. What other ideas for next time? Anything you want to do differently?
Depending on the problem, with the thorough plan.
Oh yeah, planning. Yeah, yeah. That's an adaptation that I've made over the years too, where like as we were sort of all getting started there, I know some people were focusing more on like, hey, can I commit to the GitHub repository and everything? But yeah, we will start next time with like an extended, just a planning session, so whiteboard or oh yeah, speaking of which, I brought my HDMI cables and forgot to remind people that they were usable, but everybody seems to be doing okay. You can use these projectors if you want. We'll definitely use them for mobbing. But yeah, starting out with just like exploring the problem, and actually, the kata for next Wednesday is, a step up. It's a little bit more complex, but also a good candidate for test-driven development. Sweet. Okay. Oh, do I recommend that you go in blind? No, but like you gotta choose between like doing your project and like learning about the kata, do your project, right? But definitely, but I mean, I make them available so you can read ahead. You might want to experiment. It's like, hey, does it like go a lot smoother? Do you find like, oh wow, I didn't think we could get this kata done when we did. If you do some pre-reading, or maybe, yeah, it's you'll find that it's really not that complex, and yeah, but no, up to you. I don't mind if you. Nah, I mean, it's feel free to read ahead. No problem there. Sweet. Okay, awesome. Well, hey, thanks. That's it for tonight. Hope everybody has a good next couple of days. We'll see you on Monday. What is on the agenda for Monday? Oh yeah, learning about continuous integration. This is going to be good. So yeah, we'll talk about that. We will we'll be learning more about Maven and what's possible there. So yeah. Hope to see you in person or online on Monday. Thanks, everybody.